Well, to put some light on the above topic, which is accelerating background verification, a shift from weeks to hours, of course, which is a very important discussion and a very important presentation and a corporate presentation, I shall call upon someone who will be holding this position right now. It's Pooja Salian, Director, Business Development and Growth, OnGrid, a brand of Handy Online Solutions Private Limited. Can we have a huge round of applause for Pooja Salian?
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's had their breakfast full of tea and coffee. Hope to make this session interesting for everybody. So our session today is to bring to light the challenges involved in background checks, whether it's the turnaround time involved, the cost involved, the data accuracy part, and also to deliberate on what could be some of the possible solutions and the way forward. Through this session, we also want to discuss the importance of having a verification platform, an effective verification platform, and how faster background checks could be beneficial to both employers as well as job seekers in the modern economy. So it can help you to streamline processes, of course, and make some decisions very early on in the hiring process, which could help you mitigate risks as an organization. So let me begin with a small introduction about OnGrid. So we have been running this digital trust platform, as we call it, for the last 8 years. And what we have realized is that the landscape for background checks has changed drastically over the last 7 to 8 years. Things have become more digital, paperless, and presence-less. Especially after COVID, with a lot of employees starting to work remotely in a virtual environment, things have become more presence-less. I think David shed some light about this in an earlier panel discussion too. So what we have realized is that with this happening, the HR tech space and the BGV tech space has undergone a very dynamic change over the last 7 to 8 years. So we are a digital trust platform, as I said. Trust platform where we enable trust. How do we do that? We, of course, help HR leaders like you to do background checks. We enable digital KYC and onboarding. A little bit more about this in my later slides. I'll be talking more about this. We have a concept or a solution called e-locker, which is like a digital locker with data, documents, and reports, which automates your ex-employee verification process. I think that's a very painful area with which a lot of HR leaders would also identify with. And of course, we help you to meet your ISO HR compliance. So let's look at this one by one. What are the problems that we are trying to solve? These are some of the challenges that we have put here. So firstly, we are solving the problem of fraudulent intent. According to the average discrepancy data, almost 1 to 2% of professionals who enter into the system enter with an intent to do fraud. So it's our job to actually wean out such individuals early on in the process and help you to eliminate risk. That's one of the problems or challenges we are solving. Secondly, the problem that we are solving is that of anonymity. Over 2 billion people, that's almost 1/4 of the global world population today, operates in an anonymous manner. Of course, things are changing as unorganized economy is also moving towards more of an organized manner with creation of a digital footprint, more and more formal background checks being done on people who are especially entering the mainstream economy. So some of these challenges we are sort of solving day by day. And the third challenge that we are solving, of course, is verification. Historically has been a very cumbersome process, as we all know. It takes a lot of time. It's a paper-heavy, intensive process. What we've tried to do is simplify this process, enhance the experience both for the employer as well as the candidate very early on in the employer-employee engagement, which is a very important phase in the hiring process. So how have we managed to do that? In order to do that, we have taken a platform approach. So what's a platform approach? So traditionally, some of the processes can still remain the same, right? If I want to do a physical address verification, there would be a representative going to the house address, physically verifying the address. That kind of process can still remain unchanged. But what you get on the surface layer is a completely digital experience. So you'll be able to initiate that check digitally. You'll be able to get your candidate to upload or fill those details online digitally. You'll be able to download the report digitally. Also check a real-time status of where the verification is in process. So on the surface of it, it's a very digital process. So it's an architecture, basically. It's a platform where you have plug-and-play components, where you can actually use the more superior components and do away with the inferior components. That's the platform concept that we have taken. Now, the future of engaging people, we believe, is going to be, whether it's in India or it's global, it's going to be based on the concept of reusable, verifiable digital credentials. Let's try and understand this with a very simple example. I think DigiLocker is a platform which we all understand. Probably we've used it, for verifying our credentials at any different stages. So let's talk about DigiLocker. If the education credentials on DigiLocker are issued by a competent authority, like an education institute, what happens is these credentials then gets digitized, right? And it's available to the users at their fingertips to be used as and when and accessed as and when required. So this is what we call as digital credentials. We have also tried to create a similar platform called eLocker, which is modeled around the concept of digital creations. So what we do here is we have tried to create ex-employee records as digital credentials, available free of cost lifetime to your ex-employees. What are digital credentials in this nuance or concept? This is nothing but data fields that an ex-organization would contribute for an employee leaving their organization, right? These data fields could have certain basic factual details like, for example, date of joining, date of leaving, last held designation, etc. It could also have certain reference qualitative components or tags, which goes or delves a bit deeper or one step further, right? For example, what was the reason for the employee to leave the organization? Is the employee absconding? What's the eligibility to rehire? So on the eLocker platform, while the basic tags, which is the information-based tags, would be visible to the ex-employees, the reference tags is something which is only going to be visible to the employer who is requesting for a verification. So that's what eLocker is about. Basically, digital credentials which you can write for your ex-employee, and they can see this throughout their lives and access it and use it at any given point of time to establish the employment relationship between you and them. So this gives them a lot of freedom and empowerment, right? It's tamper-proof. As I said, only ex-employees can see it. It's modeled around the concept of consent. So these credentials, every time they're accessed, there is a notification which goes to the ex-employee. And not just this, there is also a setting wherein the ex-employee can give explicit consent. So these are some of the advantages to the ex-employees. Now, what are the advantages or benefits to you as an ex-employee or an organization to contribute these credentials? Again, multiple benefits. One is, of course, it reduces hassle, enhances productivity. I'm sure your HR teams have more productive activities to focus on, rather than just doing this manual activity of responding to ex-employee verification requests. So this sort of automates the process completely. It takes care of your governance and regulations because none of the communication happens offline on emails and done by individuals in the organization, but this is all taken care, automated through a platform. Second, it helps you with regulatory compliance. We spoke a lot about HRMS in our earlier sessions. What if your organization is migrating from one HRMS to the other? What about your record-keeping regulations? For your current employees or your new hires, maybe you are able to transfer that data. But what about your ex-employees? So we take care of that. We manage your record-keeping regulation while you're transiting from one system to the other. This entire model, as I said, is also built around ex-employee consent. So from that perspective also, we take care of things on the regulatory front. The third benefit, which is very important, is information visibility. Tomorrow, as an HR leader, you want to know where your employees are going, right? Which organizations they are joining, at what positions. For example, how much percentage of your employees are going to your top 3 competitors? That's the kind of data you'd like to look at, more from a retention strategy perspective. So this is what we help you to do. Of course, at a very top level, you might still have this visibility, but having this visibility at a very very structured level with reports and dashboards coming to you on a weekly, monthly basis, I think this also helps you to sort of shape some of your retention strategies around the same. Of course, there are anonymous ex-employee surveys also that are triggered by the platform. This is after the FNF is settled, like 45 to 60 days after an employee exits. So it's truly anonymous. It collects a lot of feedback and information, does some kind of benchmarking with other organizations on the platform, and gives you some data which you can really use as a part of your retention strategy. And lastly, this makes ex-employee verification more than a cost center to a cost-saving kind of an activity or exercise. You save time, of course, you save costs. Another very interesting thing is for all your ex-employees who are being verified on the platform, every hit that you get, we actually transfer some credits back to you, which you can actually adjust against your background verification costs or the cost of any other services that you avail from us. So these are some of the benefits for the ex-employers. These are some of the organizations out of the hundreds that are using eLocker currently as a platform. Okay, the last facet in the trust enablement, of course, is ISO HR compliance that we spoke about. We are an ISO certified organization. We are recognized by the Government of India. We are a NASSCOM member. When we were a startup 8 years back, we were one of the top 3 startups which were recognized by Your Story. So these are some of the compliances that we have achieved. We work across organizations and industry segments. As you can see, some of our snippet of clients that we actually work with. So whether it is traditional organizations or organizations in the modern internet economy, we work with all of them. Each industry segment would have their own unique challenges, but through our learning journey, what we actually found out is one of the most common challenges that every organization faces when they are doing background checks is that of the turnaround time. So how have we sort of solved this problem? We've reduced the turnaround time for doing background checks to less than 4 hours. Some of the most commonly used checks, 10 to 12 checks, that some of them which you can see on the screen right now, we can actually be able to execute this within 4 hours. How does this empower the organizations that we are dealing with? So a lot of organizations are looking at background checks now as a pre-onboarding process, rather than wait for an employee to join an organization after a week, after a month, look at the report, take a call, and go through that risk process. They would prefer to do risk mitigation at an early stage and convert this into a pre-onboarding process. In fact, some organizations are also following the philosophy of doing background checks even before offer letters are rolled out, right? That's a very mature level of thinking that some organizations have. So background checks are actually used as an evaluation parameter in the hiring process itself. For example, if I'm hiring for an organization, I'm interviewing 4 candidates who are in process for one position that I'm hiring, I might do certain basic level of checks before releasing the offer itself to understand which candidate should I take forward and which candidate should I not take forward in the hiring process. So this sort of helps to make a lot of empowered decisions. So from months to weeks, what we are saying is background verification has gone down to about 4 hours. Is it going to stay there? We believe no. So what's the future? We feel that background checks is going to move and become more instant in nature. Background verifications, as we know it, is going to become instant. And how will it become instant? This is going to be through APIs. APIs that will be integrated into HRMS systems or human capital management systems that you use. Some of you may have heard of the concept of KYC, of course, which is Know Your Customer. We are calling it KYP APIs, which are Know Your People APIs. For some companies, for example, background checks also might imply doing a PAN verification, Aadhaar verification, doing a current employment check, an employment history check, bank account verification, or a credit check. Now, most of these checks or all of these checks will be integrated into HR systems in the future. And therefore, it's also an opportunity for HR systems to sort of evolve over a period of time and innovate, right? For example, you don't have to do a PAN verification as a part of a background check. I mean, look at it. It's just an input-output API call. What exactly is PAN verification? Tomorrow, if I have an employee joining an organization, I give him access to the HRMS system, the candidate logs in, inputs the PAN number. The rest of the details which are associated with the PAN number, like the name of the candidate, the father's name, the date of birth, should get automatically fetched and auto-populated into the system. There is no need to treat it like a background check. So that's how it's going to become an instant PAN KYC or a PAN verification, just to give an example. So we think that KYP APIs are the future, and all of us will slowly and gradually see this adoption happening in our HRMS environments, in our own respective HRMS environments, and all HRMS players will eventually offer this as an integrated solution. So 90% of BGV as we see it now is going to become instant. I mean, think about it. A few years back, who would have thought or envisaged that, you could walk up to a street side vendor, you could buy something, some vegetables, and pay through a QR code. It's difficult to manage a few years back, right? Imagine. But it's very much a possibility today. So this is how we see background verification shaping up. Over the next 3 to 4 years, I think this is also going to become like a very instant process. Thank you. That's a very short presentation from me. Any questions are welcome.
Hello? Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'll also interrupt in a way. Can you introduce yourself and your company and then start the question? Thank you.
So, yeah. So I am currently working for Monster. And the thing that I wanted to understand about grid lines is, will grid lines help me to, like, for example, if I'm having certain users having come on my site, will it help me to verify them instantly? And if a batch run can be done, will that be supported by grid lines?
Yeah, thanks. Very good question. So yes, this is very much possible. Gridlines as an API platform that you see consist of a bunch of RESTful APIs which can be integrated into any system. I would like to say that on the vendor onboarding side of things or the customer onboarding side of things, systems are pretty evolved. I think we sort of spoke a little bit about it in the panel discussion earlier. HR systems somewhere still have to evolve and reach that stage. But if you go to see, we've already integrated Gridlines APIs into a lot of customer onboarding platform, loan platforms, etc., where these checks are almost instantly done because these decisions have to be taken instantly, whether I'm lending a customer, whether I'm onboarding a customer or a vendor partner. And I think slowly and gradually this will move to the HR space also. As an HR leader, I will want to sort of make this into an instant process. Instantly, as the data is getting filled or uploaded, there are APIs working at the back end which verify the details, instantly give an output, and give me a go-ahead on the hiring decision or to take the decision of moving the candidate forward. So hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Any more questions? All right. Anybody has any more questions? Yeah.
Can you have the mic passed there?
Yeah. Hi. Firstly, really thank you for such a wonderful insights you have provided. Trust me, I mean, it's going way beyond imagination. So basically, here I am. I'm Kunal Joshi. I'm from VFAC Global Services. We're part of the First Meeting Group. I just had a question that, what is the percentage of accuracy do we provide? by the overall this thing we have?
In the
100.
future digital API process that we envisage?
No, with the currently what we have as a background verification and everything, what the percentage of accuracy is there?
It's almost close to 98%, Kunal, to answer your question.
Great, thanks.
Any other questions from anybody? All right, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Pooja, for such a constructive presentation. Can we have a huge round of applause, everyone? Come on. Now to felicitate Ms. Pooja Salian with the memento, I shall call upon Ninad Raje, Director and CIO from Health Assured. Can we have a huge round of applause? And thank you for an absolutely amazing presentation out here. Request you to please take the center stage. Well, Pooja Salian, Director, Business Development and Growth, OnGrid, a brand of handy online solutions.